Welcome back. This is Leetcode problem number 8, atoi. The goal of this problem is to convert a string into a 32-bit integer. Here are all the cases we have to fulfill. Let's take a look at the shell of this function. This function will accept a null terminated string and return a 32-bit signed integer. On to our first case. Our goal here is to ignore the leading white spaces. We do this by incrementing the char pointer while the character is a space. This causes the loop to terminate when we hit a non-white space character or a non-space. As you can see, we've skipped the 2 white spaces. On to our second case, and if you notice from the previous animation, we stopped at a plus sign. What that means is that we're going to determine the sign of the actual number provided in the string. If it's a plus sign, the number is positive, and if it's a minus sign, it's a negative. And we store this in a sign variable, which can also be a boolean, but in my case, I decided to opt for an integer. If the character is a plus, sign is 1. If the character is a minus, sign is negative 1. And if there is no sign, we assume the number is positive. Similarly to the first case, we skipped the leading zeros instead of the leading white space. There's really only a 1 character difference in the loop. As you can see, we've skipped over the leading zeros. Now finally, we start reading the number. We create a loop that continues to run while the current character is a digit and we have not reached the end of the string. One thing to note is that the second condition is unnecessary since the first condition already checks for that. However, for the sake of clarity, I decided to include it. Now, we take the current character, subtract it by the character 0, and increment the pointer. Now, what do I mean by subtracting by the character 0? What I mean is subtracting by the ASCII value. And on the right table, you can see the result of the subtraction. What it ends up doing is kind of extracting the actual number from the character. Now, we multiply the total by 10 and add the digit. Multiplying by 10 makes sure the digit is in the correct place value. Now finally, onto the most tricky case. I made a video about this technique that I'm going to use in my Leetcode tips series. Well, it's not a series yet, but it's going to be. What we're going to do here is we're going to check if the number overflows before it actually overflows. And I call this checked addition or checked multiplication. The if statement makes sure that any addition and multiplication we do won't overflow. We do this by making sure the total is greater than the maximum integer subtracted by the digit and divided by 10. If you notice, the operations we do here are inverse of the ones we're going to do. That's intentional, and that's to make sure the number will not overflow. If the number does overflow, we make sure the number is within range of the integer maximum and the integer minimum depending on the sign of the number. Assuming there's no integer overflow, we return the total multiplied by the sign, which will make sure the correct sign is returned. On to the final code. This passes every single case. The unfortunate reality about this problem is only around 18.7% of solutions get accepted, meaning that over 80% of people attempting this problem fail. Don't feel bad for failing this problem. Use it as a learning experience. Knowing how all these types of things work, all these functions work, really aid in your understanding of computer science and how computers and software itself works. I hope you found this video helpful. Make sure to leave your feedback in the comments below and check out my other content. Your support means a lot to me. Thank you for watching. See you next time.